Today on the Daily Scoop podcast from the Scoop News Group. The Secretary of the Department of Veterans Affairs pledges progress on the EHR rollout amid major workforce cuts. And the General Services Administration inks a deal with Elastic on discounted product offerings for federal agencies. It's Wednesday, June 25th, 2025. Welcome to the Daily Scoop podcast, where you'll hear the latest news and trends facing government leaders. I'm the host of the Daily Scoop podcast, Billy Mitchell. Thanks so much for joining me. All right, let's dive into the day's top headlines. Doug Collins, the Secretary of the Department of Veterans Affairs, attempted to assuage lawmakers' concerns Tuesday over how the agency plans to deliver critical health tech services amid drastic cuts to its workforce. Appearing before a Senate subcommittee focused on the VA, Collins said that the department is full steam ahead on planned deployments of its oft-troubled electronic health record at additional facilities, and is also pushing forward on the rollout of its external provider scheduling tool. The VA said in February that it had dismissed 1,000 employees, while the Associated Press reported in March that it planned to cut 80,000 staffers. The Oracle EHR system, meanwhile, plagued by technical problems since its launch during the first Trump administration, is scheduled to be deployed at 13 medical facilities by 2026. Democratic Senator Gary Peters of Michigan, whose state is waiting on full deployment of the EHR at VA facilities in Ann Arbor, Battle Creek, Detroit, and Saginaw, asked Collins how he would, quote, ensure that outages, slowdowns, and disruptions to veterans' care will not occur once again under this new EHR deployment plan. The secretary acknowledged the Biden administration's decision to pause the EHR rollout in the wake of several issues, and said his first move was to get the modernization effort back on track by bringing together Dr. Neil Evans and other VA leaders and top Oracle brass to focus on standardizing the platform's coding. The White House's fiscal year 2026 budget calls for a $2.17 billion increase to the VA's EHR initiative, a funding jump that Collins called, quote, vitally important to ensure doctors and veterans can communicate effectively. In other news, a suite of Elastic products will be discounted for agencies by up to 60% under a new deal announced Tuesday by the General Services Administration. That agreement, part of GSA's OneGov strategy to modernize how the government purchases goods and services, will give agencies access to discounts of Elastic's self-managed solutions starting at 27.5%, climbing to higher savings based on government-wide annual spending. Stephen Ahikian, GSA's acting administrator, said in a press release that the PAC, quote, represents a significant step in our efforts to drive cost efficiencies and modernize IT infrastructure across the federal government. Additionally, discounts start at 15% for FedRAMP moderate cloud deployments via GovCloud, jumping to 32% at top volume tiers. The pricing options are locked in for orders made prior to September 30th of 2027. GSA has previously announced OneGov deals with Google, Adobe, Microsoft, and Salesforce, in addition to unveiling plans to disrupt the tech reseller market in favor of forming more direct relationships with IT manufacturers. For more news at the intersection of the federal government and technology, make sure to visit FedScoop.com. Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of the Daily Scoop podcast, available on all podcast platforms. If you've already rated the podcast on your platform of choice, thanks so much. High ratings and good reviews of the show help more people to find it. The Daily Scoop podcast is a production of the Scoop News Group in Washington, D.C. Adam Butler and Carlin Fisher help put the show together, and the entire Scoop News Group team contributes. We'll be back tomorrow with more top headlines. Until then, I'm your host, as always, Billy Mitchell. Thanks so much for listening.